Good morning, one and all present here. My name is Symantak Bhagwat, and today I will be talking about the flaws we all have to deal with in Indian education and some of its impacts on unemployment. We have all learned about the Mughal period in India. We have all learned about how Babur came to India in 1524 and defeated Ibrahim Lodi in the Battle of Panipat to instate the Mughal rule. In the same chapter, we have been taught in great detail individually about the 6 major Mughal emperors of India. On the other hand, how many of you know that much detail about kingdoms like the Palas, the Cheras, and the Cholas? These have been covered in only a few paragraphs in the chapter Regional Kingdoms, where they are supposed to be the main focus. They should at least have equal amount of content to the Mughals. All the talk about the great Mughals, and not once has the actually great Shivaji been mentioned, who was the one who ended the Mughals' rule in India. On top of that, the Maratha Empire wasn't a small empire which happened to defeat the Mughals. The Maratha Empire was even bigger than the Mughal Empire at the respective peaks. What's more, it has been implied in the textbooks that the coming of the Mughals brought about political, cultural, and economic stability to India, as if there was a lot of upheaval going on before their arrival. How can a country which had successful democratic systems like the Janpads 2 millennia ago be politically unstable? How can a country with bustling metropolitan cities thriving with commerce and which remained the richest country in the world even after having been raided several times by foreigners be economically unstable? How can a country which had higher education in almost all fields, with some of the world's largest libraries like Nalanda University, be culturally unstable? This is just one of the many problems with Indian education. Now, not many might see much of a problem with this, thinking, hey, it's just history, how does it matter? But the fact remains that the education we are being delivered is in fact flawed. Many educationists emphasize that experimental learning has disappeared from our curriculum. Children in small classes are taught in ways where they can experiment with their learning, which automatically invokes their curiosity. But as we move to higher classes, these methods disappear, and we resort to textbook learning, which causes students to look at learning as a boring activity. Dr. Shashi Tharoor said, and I quote, IITs, IIMs, and other prestigious institutions have tended to be islands of excellence floating on a sea of mediocrity. Quality of education is also an important field of improvement for Indian education, according to educationists. Our country produces 1.5 million engineers every year, but 64% of employers still are not satisfied with the quality of the graduates they are getting. The problem is so huge that a lot of big companies like Infosys actually train their employees additionally other than their education just to get them to their standard level. In fact, 20 to 33% of the 1.5 million engineers face difficulty in securing jobs due to poor education quality. All students have, at some point in their education, wondered whether what they are learning at school will actually help them in real life. It is fairly evident from a lot of jobs that a very small percentage of what we learn is actually ever used in life. For example, map pointing is one completely non-essential part of our education according to me. While I understand the importance of having general knowledge of where which states lie, it doesn't seem necessarily important to know where various dams in India lie on a map. A few more things I find completely unnecessary are plotting graphs on graph paper for maths, memorizing the periodic table for chemistry, and memorizing exact dates of historical events. And by the way, why are we taught the French Revolution? It isn't Indian and it has no significance in the current world. While being taught these unnecessary things, we are not being given enough vocational training, due to which many aren't able to secure jobs and remain unemployed, or taught how to do taxes, which would help a lot later in life. While on the topic of memorization, immense emphasis is given on memorizing and rote learning, so much so that some students only start focusing on the memorization aspect of studying for the exams rather than actually knowing and understanding the concepts. Rote learning provides no real opportunity to think and reason, and so this will eventually lead to students forgetting these important topics because they have only memorized them and not understood them. As a result, when it comes to demonstrating their knowledge, they will fail to secure jobs, which could eventually lead to increased unemployment. On top of that, the evaluation techniques also promote rote learning instead of understanding. Instead of a written paper, other mechanisms to promote application of concepts like practicals, quizzes, interviews, etc. should be more widely applied. In conclusion, just having access to education is not enough for the people as a whole to progress the way that we are told will occur through education. The overall content, type, and quality of education makes an undeniable amount of impact on several aspects of the learning population, from grabbing their interest to turning them into productive human beings. So let us all strive for a better education, a better future, and a better India. Thank you.